to just greet you guys as you come in here and give you guys time to come in. I am honored and flattered to have the opportunity to speak with this brother today. Julian Gordon is emerging as one of the great financial and real estate experts in this country. He's a brilliant guy, Stanford University graduate, in case anybody's curious about that. But more importantly, Julian has a lot of insights that I think our community needs right now, given that a lot of us are looking at what happens with the coronavirus. Now, at the time you see this video, I don't know, exactly how that's all going to play out, but it's caused a lot of crazy uncertainty in the market. A lot of people are afraid. Fear is the operative word for this week. I did a seminar with you guys on this, a Q&A with you guys on that, and it's time to really sort of hear what the experts have to say, because there's a lot of noise and a lot of chaos and a lot of ridiculous out there. So without further ado, I'd like to ask my brother Julian Gordon. How you doing today, man?
What's going on, Chief?
Not much, brother.
Happy to be here, man.
Same to you, brother. Same to you. Same to you. So everybody who's watching, let's go through our ritual right quick. Number one, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Number two, if you believe that the Black community matters more than any other community, type B1 in the chat. If you believe that Black people come first, type B1 in the chat. If you believe that loving Black people is our top priority for the 21st and 22nd and 23rd centuries, type B1 in the chat. So everybody put your B1s up and let us know that you are Black and you are proud and you're 100% Black. I was just in Oakland. We had a packed house of B1s in the building, and it was amazing. And I'm going to send you guys some video and some pictures of that. So type B1. I see Yvonne. I see Alicia, Malik, Greg Jackson, Charles Walker, Yvette Lowry, Terrence, I see you. So please also make sure you share this video. So let's jump into the conversation. Okay, so Julian, let me ask you this, man.
Yeah.
You're an avid investor. You own millions of dollars worth of real estate property. You're really in tune with what's happening in the world financially. And there's been a lot of chaos recently. What has been your thoughts in terms of what you've been seeing?
Yeah. So the way I think about it is, there are people who have cash right now who are licking their chops at the stock market dropping. And, these cycles that are created, they make them look like they're natural things, but these cycles are really just created for people at the top and undisclosed names to really reap and benefit off the loss of others. It's happened over and over and over again. We've had the Blue Nile, we've had this Nile, that Nile. We've had all kinds of scares like this. And what happens with that, especially after, and these things typically happen after a bull run, right? I mean, in that the stock market has been booming and taking off and people are stepping into this space of abundance. And then people are literally licking their chops saying, okay, we're going to inject this into the system now. We're going to inject this fear, and we're going to wipe out all of that abundance that people created, that they think they created over this bull run. And this is how the gap between the rich get richer and the poor getting poorer continues to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But, the way a recession or a depression is really created, it actually starts in the mind of the people. It starts in the mind of the people where you have this ideology where it's like, oh man, this is too good to be true. Literally, that's what we're telling ourselves in our mind. It's too good to be true, right? And then you start hearing whispers in your own head and from other people. Oh yeah, there's got to be a recession coming. What goes up must come down. What goes up must come down, right? And so then what happens is fear starts to kick in. Fear starts to kick in. Now the news is talking about it, and we're literally speaking these things into existence. We're speaking these things to existence, and then they start to manifest as the coronavirus. Then they start to manifest as an actual recession. Now, what is a recession? How does a recession occur? It actually occurs when people get fearful, and therefore they start holding on to their money. They start holding on to their money. They start taking less risk, okay? And what happens is now money is freezing. Money is freezing. It's not moving. It's called currencies because it's supposed to have a current. It's supposed to flow. But the only thing that happens in the midst of a recession is that money freezes and stops flowing, and therefore economic growth can't happen. And that all started from fear in the individual and in the collective consciousness of a country that stopped that money from flowing. And the only way to get out of a recession is for courageous people to actually say, you know what, this fear is false. I'm actually going to go take a risk. I'm going to build this company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You always hear the statistic or the line about how many millionaires were made during the Great Depression. These were the people who were courageous while everybody else was in fear, hiding in their closet and under their bed, who actually said, nope, there's opportunity here. Because when you really think about it, and I'm going to ask you this, Doc, in the midst of when a recession occurs, do problems go up or do they go down?
Do problems go up or do they go down? I feel like that's such a trick question because I want to say problems go up, but I feel like knowing you, I feel like you're gonna say they're going down. So tell me why they're going down.
No, problems do go up. You're right about that.
Oh, okay. I
Problems
was checking. See, you asked me a simple question.
I know. You know me well. You know me well. But when problems go up, do opportunities go up or they go down?
Oh, they go way up. Way up.
But in the average American's mind, when problems go up, when a recession is happening, opportunities go down. Oh, there's jobs, there's less financing, there's less this, there's less this. But for people who actually understand wealth and understand the game, opportunities shoot through the roof. And the greater the problems there are, the more opportunity there is. You're just going to have to solve different problems. The problems that a lot of people are solving in their jobs are easy problems. And the computers and automation and outsourcing are coming to take those jobs, and especially the white collar jobs. You can't really outsource or automate a gardener. You can't automate or outsource a plumber. You can't automate or outsource an auto mechanic. But somebody who learned nothing from their college degree, who's actually sitting in front of a computer and literally commuting to a computer every single day, those are the ones that the computers are coming for. Those are the ones that the robots are taking. And what did you share with me an article about robots not be taking your jobs? What did you say? They becoming their bosses?
Oh, yeah. There's an article today that I saw that on The Verge that said that robots aren't just taking your jobs; they're becoming your bosses. And I'm gonna try to pull that article up while you rolling. But you're right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we're facing. So all economy actually starts around what's happening in people's conscious and subconscious mind. And you see this cycle over and over of fear and how that ends up manipulating, especially the stock market. That's typically the thing that gets hit first when fear sets in, because the stock market in many cases is not based on real value. I know this is hard to conceive, but the correlation between a company's actual value and in terms of what it would sell for to another business and what its stock price are, they are so dissociated and uncorrelated. In the same way that the dollar, the paper dollar, this money right here, this used to be correlated. This used to be correlated to gold. It is no longer. It has been detached from gold, and therefore they don't move together anymore. This piece of paper is getting more and more worthless every single day. In fact, this is 70% cotton. You realize that? We still out here picking cotton. You realize we still out here picking cotton? People talking about the plantation and people still on the corporate plantation picking cotton every single day. That's all this is.
I be picking all the cotton I can, boss.
Hey, man.
NASA said, I guess they're going to pick the cotton.
This can't keep you warm. This can't keep you warm at night, man. You have to have real assets. And that's the thing. Stock market and this paper, these aren't real assets. Cash, I need people to understand this. Cash is the lowest yielding asset in the entire world. This is hard for some people to understand because everybody's out here paper chasing, right? Everybody's out here paper chasing. Cash is the lowest yielding asset in the entire world. When you think about it, in your Bank of America savings account right now, your money is earning 0.03% interest. 0.03% interest, which means that if you use the rule of 72, you take 72 divided by 0.03, it will take you 2,400 years to turn this into $40, to double your money. It will take you 2,400 years in your Bank of America savings account to double this into $40. Wow. So the moment when you put your money, the banks are actually robbing you, in case you didn't know. Like, you see all these securities and these plastic things up protecting it. No, the bank is actually robbing you. The plastic is up there to make sure that you don't come to an awakening and come at them foul. It's not about some bank robber. They robbing you, and they just making sure that they safe once you actually realize that they robbing you.
Well, everybody, I'm speaking with Julian Gordon, and Julian Gordon's from the Black REI Group, or the emancipationequation.com. Actually, the emancipationequation.com is where you can go to participate actually in the a joint business summit that we're going to do. That's going to be online. It's digital. It's free. Everybody can join. So somebody please share that URL type it in the chat. It's theemancipationequation.com. That's theemancipationequation.com. And if you've ever participated in anything that Julian has done or things that we've done in the Black Business School, you know that your life changes very quickly. So somebody please type that in the chat. That URL is theemancipationequation.com. And you guys can all join for free. So make sure you go sign up, theemancipationequation.com. And we're talking about Black wealth in a way that you're not going to get in any business school in America. There's, you know, at Stanford, where you went to Stanford, they weren't.
I went there. They didn't teach
right. You went to
stuff.
Stanford. They wasn't teaching this. You know, when I taught at Syracuse, they weren't teaching this. They're, you know, when you go to HBCUs, they're not teaching this. And these universities are also charging you, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. In fact, at Syracuse, now the cost to attend Syracuse is over $70,000 a year. And I'm fascinated by that because, you know, the Black students are consistently complaining there about being treated like second-class citizens. This isn't new. Like, this happens on that campus every couple of years, and it happens at campuses across the United States. And so I'm just sitting there trying to figure something out. I want y'all to help me answer that question. You know, why would you pay $70,000 a year to be treated like a second-rate Negro? You know, or even a first-rate Negro. I don't think any of us are paying that kind of money to be treated like we are less than the people that we are paying. If you're paying them that money, they should be treating you like a king, like a queen. And so, so with the Emancipation Equation, theemancipationequation.com, with that event, what we're really doing is we're really treating you like royalty in the sense that, you know, we're letting everybody come in. Anybody can come in. You can bring your mama, bring your kids, bring whoever you want. You should bring your children to these things. We're giving you first-rate expertise because, you know, Julian went to Stanford, Lawrence went to Cornell. I have a PhD. You're not talking to second-rate people. And then also you're getting cultural relevance. I believe that in this economy, in this recession, and I'd like you to speak on this, Julian. I remember Tavis Smiley referring to the fact that, you know, when America catches a cold, Black people get pneumonia. That means that when the recession hits, it's going to hit white folks in a certain way, but it's gonna really hammer Black people in a significant way. And the recession's coming. Right? The coronavirus hit the market. 3.6 trillion with a T was lost overnight. Gone like that. I mean, which is insane. And so we know it's coming. So I'd like to get your take on the difference between being Black and going through a recession, and being white and going through a recession. And I asked that question by making one last statement on that. I want to ask you about this and just process all this as you respond. My grandmother lived through the Great Depression, and she was born in the middle of the Great Depression. And I asked her about that. I said, so what was it like living during the Great Depression? It sounds like it was terrible. And one thing she said was, she said, well, we didn't know that there was a depression because we were always broke. We never had any money for food. So can you speak to that in terms of the difference between how Black folks prepare for this kind of thing versus everybody else?
That's the only positive of being Black in the midst of a recession, is that we already, our people as a whole, already at the bottom. So it ain't nowhere else to go. We've been used to this, right? And the beautiful thing about us, in terms of our relationship to money, we actually know how to have joy with less money than other cultures. Like, if other cultures switch places with us right now and had our economic position, they would be jumping off of buildings, right? They would literally be suicidal. But we've been able to say that, you know, money is good, but it's not everything. And we are able to have joy even if there is an abundance around us in that particular moment. So that's the thing that benefits us and allows us to navigate these waves better than other cultures. But what's going to happen and what's going to be really hard for us, and I believe is actually the next crisis for Black people, is actually housing. Housing is the number one crisis on the horizon for us for two reasons. One, right now, 1968 was the Fair Housing Act. That's when it passed, and that was supposed to, you know, end redlining and all these other things and these predatory lending practices and criteria that wouldn't allow African Americans to get loans. And we were doing great. We had about 50% home ownership rate years after that. Okay, today we've actually gone backwards and regressed, and our home ownership rate is around 41%. So I usually don't like to compare or but I'm going to put this in perspective. The home ownership rate for white Americans is above 70%. Right? So there's a 30-point gap between our home ownership rates and the home ownership rates of our counterparts in this particular situation. So what's going to happen for those of us, the other 59% who are renters, okay, is that rents are going to continue to rise. And what happens, Doc, in the midst of a recession, this is great if you're a multifamily owner, but it sucks if you're a renter. You already know supply and demand, right? You study finance and economics. In a recession, who loses their homes? The people who paid bought a little too big, right? One person they're the nuclear family, one person loses their job, now they can't pay the mortgage payment, and they get foreclosed on, and they become renters, right? They're still making high income, they're still making decent income, but they're renters because they lost their home, okay? And after going through a foreclosure, you can't buy again that quick. So now they're renters. And all the people who are going to buy in 2020, their goal at the beginning of the year before the coronavirus, their goal was to buy, they're going to end up holding back. Why? Because they're afraid of what's happening in the future, right? And the banks start to restrict their lending. They tighten their lending guidelines. So now you have people who were renting, right? The natural renters. Then you have people who are in renter mentality. Then you have people who are going to buy, but are not going to buy, so they stay renting. And then you have all these people who get foreclosed on who now become renters. So now the demand for rentals goes up, but the supply of rentals stays the same. And when demand goes up, the supply stays the same, what happens to price? Price goes up. So this is crazy. In the midst of a recession, rents actually go up. And that only benefits you if you actually own rental property. Rents go up. Every single recession, rents have gone up. This is why multifamily real estate is probably the most recession-proof asset in the entire world. Now, peep this. Landlord, the word landlord, think about where it came from. It came from the feudal system. The feudal system happened in 900 AD in Europe, right? And what happened was the king gave land to lords, right? The king gave land to lords in exchange for loyalty. So that's where the word landlord comes from. So that's a 920-year-old system. Look, I can't guarantee you that Apple will be around 900 years from now. I can't guarantee you that Google will be around 900 years from now. I can't guarantee you that Amazon will be around 900 years from now. But if human beings are still on the face of this earth, I can guarantee you that multifamily real estate will still be around 900 years from now because people will always need housing. They will always need housing. And if you don't actually take ownership of a piece of land and property on that land soon, what's going to happen is rents are going to continue to rise, and it's going to make it harder for you to save because wages are stagnating. So now it's harder for you to save because your rent just rose, but you don't have a choice because you need somewhere else to live. And now it's harder for you to save, but guess what? At the same time, the price of houses are going up. So now it's going to be harder for you to make that down payment on a smaller savings. And there will come a line and there will come a time where you are no longer in a position to ever buy.
Everybody, I'm speaking to Julian Gordon from the emancipationequation.com, and we're talking about this recent stock market crash, coming recession, and how to recession-proof your life, and just how to respond, and just different thoughts on things that a person could consider doing. This is not investment advice, but this is a sort of helping you understand the landscape. Do me a favor, if you haven't done this yet, please hit the thumbs up button, please hit the share button. If you're on Twitter, please retweet. If you're on Facebook, please right now, everybody please share. Everybody please hit a button right now on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hit a button. Don't just watch. Hit a button. Somebody hit a thumbs up, like, something like that, because that helps us to grow the platform. Also, you can support the platform at intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. And as I'm moving to my next question, first of all, I want to thank everybody in Oakland who came out to the event that we had recently at the Wings of Love Church. It's totally packed out. We were there for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and had an amazing discussion about Black wealth and things like that. If you were there, shout yourself out. And when I'm in Oakland, right? So this is leading my question for you, Julian. So I'm rolling through Oakland, and from in San Francisco, kind of going back and forth across the Bay Bridge. And if I'm not mistaken, let me ask you: did you have experience in Oakland? Did you own something in Oakland?
I'm from Oakland. Yeah,
Oakland. That's right. That's right. I knew. I was thinking. I was like, wait a minute. Am I making this up in my head?
No, you're right.
Because Oakland's got so many amazing things, that have come out of there. Everything from the Black Panthers to Too Short and E40. So it's like Oakland's just Oakland.
But we can't claim E40. We can't E-Vallejo.
You got,
but it's close. It's close.
what you got? What?
MC Hammer? MC Hammer?
Wait, MC Hammer. Well, we ain't talking about MC. We talking about real rappers. I'm playing. I'm being an idiot. But you know what? But Oakland's just got so much rich history, and the activism has been extraordinary. The black folks there made that city. You know, I mean, Oakland would not be Oakland if it wasn't for the black people in Oakland. Yeah. And so one thing that crossed my brain as I'm rolling through Oakland is as a brother drove me. You know, I was on the east side, then I went over to the west side. And the whole conversation the whole time was all about gentrification. You know, it was all about, you know, certain parts. He said, yeah, on this corner right here, we're in West Oakland. He said, on this corner, you know, there used to be dope fiends and, you know, and brothers slanging on the corner. Black folks took up the whole neighborhood. They were renters, as you talked about. And now it's like, you know, white folks walking their puppies, you know, to the dog park, you know, as they stop by the Whole Foods. And go get a Starbucks, you know, caramel latte on their way, you know, and it's sort of adjusted, and it makes me sad. It really makes me sad because you're hearing these gentrification conversations all over the country. Can you speak to what you just talked about in terms of, you know, multifamily rental property and your mission to encourage home ownership of various levels? And how that fits into the narrative of what happened in Oakland, which also happened in Chicago, which also happened in New York, which also happened all over the
It's
country.
happening all over. So that's perfect. Thank you for that. Oakland doesn't feel like home anymore. It just doesn't. I left at the age of 18, and when I go there, I see some good changes, but I don't see my people there anymore. So we're getting squeezed out further and further out to Tracy and things of that nature. So I want to get some language clear because the word gentrification has been co-opted, okay? Gentrification actually means to increase the value of a neighborhood. So for instance, the greenest block in Brooklyn on Lincoln Place, there's primarily black owners there. So by them taking care of their gardens, by them taking care of the facades of their homes, guess what? They've all but primarily black owners, they've gentrified that block in Brooklyn. So all black people can gentrify. And guess what? They all have more equity because of it. All right. The real word that we need to use when another community comes into our community and starts taking land and resources and desiring to kick us out, that's called colonization, y'all. That's colonization. We've been calling gentrification colonization but just because it's a softer word. But this is no different than what Columbus did to the Native Americans. So we need to call a spade, and this is colonization that is occurring. They don't want you there. What is it, in DC? They were playing go-go music, and you got white people who had just moved in complaining, even though this has been part of the DC history and the Shaw for decades, right? That's colonization, okay? So we have to be very clear about our language. But my mission is to free over 300 people through multifamily real estate, and I call it the above ground railroad. Of course, Harriet Tubman, she took people on the Underground Railroad, and she is the most ride or die individual ever to walk in black skin, in my eyes, right? I mean, she went down below the Mason-Dixon line 19 times over the course of a decade, freeing over 300 families. For me, my mission is to do what she did, but I call it the above ground railroad, and it's through real estate. And I know that when you buy a multifamily property as your first home the right way, it can immediately get you to rent or mortgage freedom. Now, there are only 2.6 million 2 to 4 family homes in the United States. 2 to 4 family homes, I mean duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. There's only about 2.6 million. And if you are able to acquire a triplex or a fourplex and you buy it at the right price in the right neighborhood, you can actually get to a point where you no longer have a housing expense ever again. I did that in Brooklyn in 2013. I bought a triplex there. And the moment I bought that home, I have not paid a mortgage since. I have not paid a housing expense. And our housing expense typically is 1/3 of our income. So imagine having that housing expense gone forever, the amount of breathing room that would create for you, the amount of freedom that would create for your family. But guess what? That's not where it ended. Since then, I've been able to acquire 11 multifamily homes all across the country, in Oakland on the West Coast, in Brooklyn on the East Coast, and in New Orleans on the Gulf Coast. And today I have 32 doors, right? And I serve and provide affordable housing for over 60 people. My real estate portfolio continues to expand, and now I teach that to other people. And right now, my focus is to just get people that first property that gets them and their family to rent and mortgage freedom. Don't go buy a single family home. A single family home is not an asset, y'all. And I'm going to break it down to you why. You realize that the word mortgage, have the same root as mortician. The word mortgage literally means death pledge. That's the literal meaning of the word mortgage. Now you bought into the American dream saying, oh, let me go, I finished college. I already have debt there, but now let me go get some more debt, right? But at what point does a single family home ever pay you? Never, unless you sell it or you're Airbnb in rooms. A single family home does not pay you. Assets put money into your pocket. A single family home never does that. Well, Julian, I paid off my mortgage. Well, guess what? Now you have a 30-year-old home, and guess what? After 30 years, what happens to a home? You need maintenance. So your mortgage is gone, but now you have to pay maintenance on that home, just like an old car, right? So you're still having money coming out of your pocket every single month. That I haven't included property taxes and insurance. So your single family home, in most cases, is actually an expense. Your first payment on your single family mortgage is 70% interest. It's 70% interest. So if you have a $300,000 mortgage, and it's at 4.5%. It's over 30 years. Doc, listen to this: 4.5% on and your interest rate on a $300,000 mortgage over 40 years. That's $208,000 in interest.
Wow!
So you bought yourself a home and you bought your banker a home.
Yeah.
All right. So look at this. A lot of people who get single family homes, they're like, oh, look at me, I'm a homeowner, I'm not paying rent anymore. Well, if you take that $208,000, you divide it by 360 months, which is the extent of the mortgage, you're literally paying $578 a month in interest. So it's not called rent in terms of it's going to a landlord, but it is rent because it's going to the bank. All right. So we've been deceived that a single family home is actually an asset, and it's really not. What we need to be acquiring is multifamily real estate, because that is an asset. And if you acquire that the right way, then it can position you to have whatever dream home you want. A lot of people do it out of sequence. They buy a single family home and then they try to become a real estate investor. Well, it's twice as hard that way. When you use an FHA loan to buy a multifamily home first, you live in one unit, the other 2 tenants or 3 tenants pay the entire mortgage. You stay there for 1 year, then you can move into your single family home that you desire, rent out the unit that you were in, and now you have an asset, which is a multifamily home that is paying for itself and providing you cash flow, and it's providing you tax benefits, and they're paying down the principal, and it's appreciating all at the same time. Multifamily real estate is the most recession-proof asset in the entire world. And I believe wholeheartedly that if you get that, it will position you and your last name and your family for generational wealth.
Well, first of all, I want to say to everybody who just tuned in, I'm speaking with Julian Gordon. And Julian Gordon is our real estate dean in the Black Business School. And there is an upcoming free digital business summit that we do in the Black Business School. And Julian and I are going to participate in this together. And it's called the Emancipation Equation. And basically our goal is to invite everybody in the community to come through. And we do give you special offers and things like that, but you can come through for free. And basically we break down and explain to you all the things that you wish you'd learned in school. We know what we're talking about, and we know we can help you. So if you'd like to join us, go register right now. Everybody register right now. Maybe you can come back to the chat after you register. Go to theemancipationequation.com, THE. That's theemancipationequation.com. If somebody could type that in the chat, I would appreciate that. Please type that in the chat so others can see it. It's theemancipationequation.com. Now, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. And one thing I'm going to throw out here in terms of just so diversity of perspective, so we can have all ideas and perspectives on the table. I will say this, when you talk about, and when you mentioned owning a single family home, and the single family home as not being an asset, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to throw out there, right, to kind of balance it, right? We don't. Yeah. I don't even really think we ever have to have disagreements, because that would make the assumption that one person's right, the other person's wrong. I think everybody can be right, and we can just look at it all from all perspectives. It's like, is a red suit ugly, or is it a good suit to wear? Well, it depends, right? It depends on what you're trying to do that day. What event are you going to? So I would almost say that when you talk about a single family home, my perspective on the single family home, because Alicia and I have a house, and we're glad to own the house, right? We're glad to be, paying the mortgage is not a problem. But we also have rental property, right? And so it just like yourself, right? You were in that position, but now you're actually a position that I think most people should aim for, where you're doing so well in the rental property space that your all your mortgages and all that stuff is paid for. But one of the things that it is fundamentally true, without a doubt, is that when you are borrowing money from the bank, you are going to pay rent. I like the fact you made that point. You're renting their money, right? Just like you rent a car, just like you rent property, right? You're renting their money, so you are going to pay rent on money that you rent from other people, money that other people let you use, and that's where that interest is coming from. So that $250,000 that you mentioned, or 200-something thousand, that is a rental fee that you've paid for the ability to use their money to acquire an asset, et cetera. Now, one of the things that has worked out pretty well for us, though, is also that, the home ownership, even with the single family home, the benefit, though, has definitely been in the capital gains. The value of the house has gone up, and yeah, you got the tax write-offs and stuff like that too. But as the value of the home goes up, it just makes certain things easier. Like, so for example, we redid the basement. I wanted a man cave, and the basement wasn't finished. So I said, let's finish the basement. And it was great to do that because I didn't really have to worry so much about the cost, because I know that all that cost is going to be recovered in the increases in the value of the home.
Mm-hmm.
You get a big, gigantic finished basement, that's going to add value to the house. So I wasn't even spending money. It was like putting money in a bucket, but it's still my money. It's just I put it in a different bucket. Right. Mm-hmm. Another interesting thing, now when you go into the rental property space, and this is why we certainly listen to experts like yourself, and we went and got us some rental property in Chicago. We're going to get several more. Is that there is a wonderful added benefit to the idea of having that cash flow that is added in when you're talking about rental property or multifamily homes, things like that, because in a way, it compares to dividends. During a recession, one of the things that experts talk about is leaning toward dividend-paying stocks. And the reason they say, that dividend-paying stocks can be a little bit better during a recession is because a company that pays dividends, they're much more reluctant to change their dividend payout because it sends such a bad signal to the market. Like changing your dividend, reducing your dividend even a little bit, sends a really bad signal that can completely crash your stock. So companies will hold on to that dividend for dear life. Like they'll go borrow money just so they can make the dividend payments at the level that they were supposed to make them, which is much more consistent than depending solely on capital gains. So one of the things you guys will learn in the Black Business School, if you learn nothing else, is that there's many, many ways to skin that economic cat. Right? When you're talking about getting income for your family, sure, you can go work and get a paycheck. Most of y'all know how to do that. How many of y'all know how to go work for white people? Right? Give me a guess if you've ever done that. Right? We know that. Like you were taught that at birth. That's the first lesson they give you because they want to feed you into the slave system. So most of y'all got that part down. But then there's also, what Julian talks about, rental property and having that income that comes from that. But then also the rental property secures you. Or it allows you to kind of take a different perspective on what's happening with the gentrification thing, right? You think about East Oakland or East and West Oakland, just all of Oakland. What if back then we were as a community just super deeply committed to property ownership? I bet it's a lot of those properties could have been bought for almost nothing. Kenny Gamble did that in Philadelphia. Kenny Gamble went to the hoodie hood, where back in the 70s, where there was dope dealers, dope addicts, homicides, gangbangers, the property nobody wanted. And he said, I'm gonna buy it all because I believe Black is beautiful and Black people are the best people, and that being around Black people is the best thing to be. He was putting it in his music, and he was using the cash flow from the music to acquire property. How many other people in the entertainment industry have been doing that? Is that was, and let me tell you what, let me tell you more about this story. Then I'm gonna be quiet because I definitely want you to jump in on this, Julian. He said that he went to other entertainers. He said, I went to a lot of my friends back in the 70s when we were getting these big checks, royalty checks for writing these songs. And I said, hey, we can go buy our neighborhood, buy our community for almost nothing because this is property that nobody wants. And unfortunately, a lot of the folks were like, I don't want to live down there. I don't want to own anything down there. I want to go out to where the white folks are at. I want to go out here and be where the ice is colder. And so I think that what that speaks to, man, and I'd love for you to talk on this, is that a lot of our economic moves and to some extent our economic situation, sure, we know a lot of it's tied to oppression. We know a lot of it's tied to the attitudes of white folks toward black people. We know this. We know the history. That's real. But I think that despite the fact that we know that our economic condition is connected to the attitudes and the perspectives of white folks, when at some point are we going to acknowledge that some of our economic situation is connected to the attitudes and perspectives that we have about ourselves?
Yeah.
Like attitude is everything when it comes to wealth acquisition. Can you kind of speak to that, please?
Yeah. So we'll be forced to. We'll be forced to. So just like when Lincoln fired the slaves, you know, he didn't free the slaves. He fired the slaves. We were forced to stand on our own. We had to figure it out just by circumstance. And the way the economic picture is going to unfold as the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Not only poor financially, not poor spiritually, not poor inwardly, right? That we are not poor people, right? And then the Latinos, they are doing their thing. They're willing to shack up eight to a single family home. They are learning blue collar, what people call blue collar skills, which black people were taught to look down upon, even though that's what got us through after the emancipation was our blue collar skills, right? Not our knowledge, not our WED and WEB, right? I was more Booker T. Only thing wasn't down with for Booker T was, you know, Booker T, he would keep begging white people for money in order to do what he could have done himself. So I feel like Garvey was kind of the balance of the two, could understand what was happening over here intellectually, but was also committed to ownership at the same time, right? We got to get back to these hands, but we will be forced to economically to reconcile and get over our differences. There's no reason you and your auntie, you or your older sibling should be living down the block from each other and both renters. There's just no reason. I don't care if you hate each other. You will be forced at some point to go live with each other just off of circumstance. But rather than wait until that moment comes in that situation, why not go live together right now, decrease both of your expenses now? So let's just say, put numbers to it. Both of you paying $1,500 rent. Both of you paying $1,500 rent somewhere, okay? You say, we hate each other. Mama liked him better than she liked me, and he stole my bike when I was 5, and I'm still mad at him for that, right? Get over your shit, okay? Go live with each other. Yeah, it's going to be tight, and you're going to bump heads, but it's only for 2 years because now you're paying $1,500 on one rental. Now you're stacking $750 each over, what is that? That's $15,000 each over 2 years that you have stacked, okay? You're going to feel better about each other once you realize you got 15,000 stacked. And then you go make that 3.5% down payment on an FHA loan, right? On your separate properties, and you can move as far away from each other as you desire. But now you own something. Like, we're going to be pushed to that from a position of circumstance, right? We got these attitudes and egos that don't allow us to live together in community. And I think it's going to be a requirement. And I think it's actually going to be good for us. I think it's going to be good for us. I think the squeeze is going to be good for us because it's going to make us prioritize what's really, really important. Right now, we're kind of living on the edge where, yeah, I can rent my own spot and you can rent your own spot, this and that. But when we are forced by economics to be pushed together, then we realize that, oh, we all at the bottom of the barrel. And this stuff that I was mad at you about was petty. Let's go get this together. Let's save money together. And then, well, let's do it in such a way where we can go build. So let me put it this way. In Brooklyn, next to my spot, next door to me, I got Asian neighbors. These are only Asians in the entire neighborhood. But they saw opportunity. And you want to know how many of them were stacked in this 4-bedroom? It was like 8 of them. It was like 8 of them. But watch this, Doc. In 5 years, it was down to 4. Why? Because they saved so much money. Each one got a property around the neighborhood.
Well, let me jump in, man, and I hope you guys can join me in basically giving applause to this brother. I think that you deserve to be clapped for. Yeah, you deserve a digital round of applause. Can y'all
Never heard that way.
Can y'all please give a digital thank you and a digital applause for what this brother just said? You threw a notable quotable. I quoted you on my Twitter right as you said that.
What'd I say?
Let's freeze frame, y'all, and we're gonna hit the rewind button, and we're gonna go back to when Julian said that it makes no sense that you living right down the street from your cousin and y'all are both renting property. You're paying $1,500 a month. She's paying $1,500 a month. And then you got another cousin paying $1,500 a month. Well, that's $4,500 a month. Like $4,500 a month. What kind of house can you buy like for $4,500? I mean, like that, whether it's rental, non-rental, obviously I think we agree that that's the way where you want to get to.
Yeah.
But even if you talk about just home ownership, just in general, where you can't be gentrified out of your neighborhood, or at least if they gentrify, you're going to benefit from that. $4,500 a month will be a mortgage payment on a very nice house.
Oh yeah.
Like a $1 million house, right? More than $1 million, right? So, seriously. So I think that one great takeaway here, and this is not anything new or revolutionary that's being stated here. It's only revolutionary because you were taught something completely different growing up. The very basic idea is that you're better off together. You're better off working together. If and I was speaking last night at the Wings of Love Church in East Oakland last night, and one of the things that I was mentioning, to the congregation was I said, if you think about it, power typically comes from people running in packs. Like every time I go running, I see like 500 geese all together on the lake. One goose can't do nothing to me, but if all 500 of those geese attack me at once, I'd be dead. And that's kind of how life works. Power runs in packs. It runs in coalitions. That's why you have herds of animals that run together in packs. That's why you have street gangs where they all wear the same colors. They run together in a pack. The police department, they run together in packs. They get backup. They all wear the same uniform. They're all on a certain code, right? Corporations are packs. They're gangs. Everybody that works for Intel, Intel Computer, it's part of the same gang. Asian Pacific Unions is a bunch of Asian countries coming together to form an economic gang. So ultimately, for Black folks, I'm just here to really tell you guys, y'all got to get gang affiliated. Like y'all need to figure out like who is your gang, who is your clique, who is your posse. Because if you ain't got a clique, if you ain't got a posse, if you don't have a gang, and in Africa, your original gang is your family. That's why family is so important in Africa. If you don't have a gang, then you're just out here by yourself. And if you don't have a gang, I encourage you to go find one. Go get affiliated. Join an investment club. Go join a group for entrepreneurs. The B1 gang. Like we got a gang. And the thing about every gang is that you have a code. That's how you maintain your power. The mafia has a code of conduct. Corporations have codes of ethics and behavior, right? The police department has a code of conduct. The Crips and Bloods have a code. Everybody has a code. So Black people, I ask you this question. What is your code and are you on code? Mm-hmm. As a community, do we stay on code? What does that mean to stay on code, right? And so a lot of what we talk about here is really about the accumulation of power and practicing powernomics by finding a way that we can have each other's back and everybody get on code. Because when you have a group of people that stay on code, then the group wins, right? But when people fall off code, like the European Union is an example. They had the European Union, they couldn't keep it together because Greece fell off code. Greece was, doing all kinds of financial crap that made the British say, man, we ain't about this. We ain't trying to be a part of this, right? So the Greeks broke the code, and then the British were like, we out. Next thing you know, the coalition's crumbling. And now what you saw when that European Union crumbled, what you saw an instant loss of over $1 trillion in wealth. Why? Well, because when you have togetherness, you create wealth. So we could create $2 trillion in Black wealth tomorrow if we came together and got on code. What does that mean to you, Julian?
So when it comes to real estate, here's my commandment to offer. And Doc, you might want to add this question to each show. Every guest, every expert you bring on. My code in terms of real estate, no living on your own if you don't own shit. That's my commandment to add to the book. You living on your own, but you don't own anything. That doesn't make any sense. So that is my code to add to the book of codes that I know that you're going to create over time. Now, for those of you who are out there renting, and this is why I got to come at you. For those of you out there renting, basically, I want you to be aware that you are homeless. For everybody who's out there renting, you are homeless. But yet here you are with all this good education, right? You're a good person. You got a good work ethic. But literally, there is a homeless person who's sleeping on a bus bench tonight, and they own as many properties as you. They own as many properties as you do. 0. How is that so? This person has probably gone through mental illness, probably had something tragic happen in their life, and they're sleeping on a bus bench, and they have as many assets as you. In fact, there were children born during the course of this interview who have a net worth of 0, and they have higher net worth than you. And you've been on this earth for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. How is that so? So if you were out there renting, here's my prayer for you. And it's not going to be a traditional prayer. My prayer for all of you who are out there renting, I wish you all more rats, more roaches, and I wish you bed bugs. Because you've gotten so comfortable in renter mentality. You were supposed to be renting temporarily to get to ownership, but now you in the space, you call it my apartment. It is not your apartment. You are not on the title. You are not on the deed. So the next time you invite people over for a dinner party, don't say, come over to my place. You know what you need to say? Come over to Tommy's place. Come over to Michelle's place, because that's where I've been staying and paying rent for the past 10 years. I've been paying them $150,000 over 10 years of rent. Don't put your name on the invitation. That's not your place. Put Michelle's house and Tommy's house. This is where I stay at. This is the place that I rent. But if they want it back, they can kick me out and I would be homeless. And I know the words that come after the word I am are powerful, but I need you to temporarily kick in your survival mechanism and realize that you don't have a home. And that is the first fundamental need of all people. All right. So I pray for all of you to have more rats, more roaches, and more bed bugs, because that's the only thing that's going to make you uncomfortable enough to get out of your current situation. You can hear gunfire. You can have the drug dealer selling dope in the hallway. You're still not uncomfortable enough. But if you got roaches and rats and bed bugs crawling on you at night, and I hope these bed bugs, I hope you feel them right now. I hope you feel them right now until it inspires you to get up off your ass and off your mat. What did Jesus say? Pick up your mat and walk. Take responsibility. It's called the promised land. Why? Because you're supposed to have a piece of land. The Israelite story ain't about some white people. There were no white people in that area. That Israelite story is about us. And it's just replicated itself here and now in the United States. A lost tribe in America or lost tribe in captivity for 400 years? Who does that sound like? It's time to get free, y'all. It's time to get free, but we got to move differently. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is why you got to come and watch Dr. Watkins all the time. Everybody that he brings on, because every time you hear something, it's renewing your mind. Because the old poverty consciousness that you've been thinking and moving with, it hasn't been getting you the results that you desire. And it all starts here. It all starts here. A lot of you know the information, you watching all kinds of podcasts, YouTube, etc. But there's some blockage up here in your mind that is preventing you from taking action and actually seeing the results in your life. And you got to figure out what that is. You got to look in the mirror and you got to man up. You got to woman up to say, I got to do different. I got to be different so I can do different so I can have different. Because you want to have different without changing who you're being or what you're doing. And that's never going to work.
Wow. Well, you know what? I think that what you're saying is absolutely correct. And I do agree. I mean, I want everybody to kind of process what Julian's saying here, that, you know, that sometimes we think that being comfortable is always a good thing, but sometimes being comfortable is a bad thing. Even if you look at it, I mean, give me a yes or no. Yes or no. Do you think that Black people are more unified and active when they had Obama in the White House, or do you think that we're more unified and active with Trump in the White House? Right. Yeah. Which one? When Obama was in the White House, do you think we were more active and unified, or do you think that it took a President Trump to get us on point, and to get us focused, and to get us working together? So I'm not saying I was happy, one way or the other when Trump got elected, but I will say that if there was a benefit to Trump's election, it is the fact that we were reminded that we have no friends. With Obama, you thought you had a friend, but you ain't got no friends. I mean, rich and powerful people don't care nothing about you until you become one of them. That's
John Henry Clark was telling us this from day one. He's been telling us we don't have any friends on this earth. Yep. We don't have no friends on this earth. Black people, maybe there are some friends of Africans, and they're letting Chinese come in and take over, but Black people, we have no allies. We have no allies. And so we have to look to each other.
Yes, we do. So everybody, I want you guys to know, once again, who I'm speaking with. His name is Julian Gordon. Julian Gordon he's our real estate dean in the Black Business School. He's an excellent, extraordinary resource on all topics related to economics, real estate, things like that. He's a brilliant guy. And we're doing an event this week. It's called the Emancipation Equation. If you'd like to join it, it's free. You can join totally for free. And it's a business summit. Is it 3 days, Julian? Is that
2 days? 2 days.
2 days, a 2-day event. Everybody can sign up. It's digital. You can watch from home. You can bring your family, bring your cousin, bring your spouse, bring your baby mama, whoever you want to bring. And we will make sure that when you walk out of there, you will be a better, different, more evolved human being. So the website, somebody type it in, please. And I'm going to say it a couple of times. It's theemancipationequation.com. That's theemancipationequation.com. Thank you guys for sharing it. Also, before we bounce out, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell, all those things, and help us keep growing this platform, because we're here to connect with the community, and that's what we do every day. So thank you guys, and thank you, Julian, man. It was great talking.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you. Thank you for bringing me on, and just being the leader in our community and spreading this information, this knowledge. We are so grateful for you. We know you wake up every day thinking about Black people and how you can make them better, and tapping into your network to bring all of these experts and all of this wisdom, as well as sharing your own with the world. You could have just kept it to yourself and been doing your own thing. And so we are grateful for you for spreading this knowledge. Like, seriously, we know that you give 24/7 to us while you still manage to have a family and your kids and things of that nature. It feels like you were taking care of us, and we're so grateful for you literally being a father in the community.
Oh, wow, man. Well, I'm flattered and honored that you said that. Thank you very much. And I take that responsibility seriously. You know, I think that we've got a great opportunity here as a community to do something historic and amazing. We are Black history. We are making Black history. And so everybody in the room, let's type our word for today. Our word for today is ownership. Everybody type ownership in the chat before you go. Ownership. Ownership is one of the new codes of conduct that I want you to implement in your family. Ownership. So everybody type ownership. Everybody, you ain't got to go run a business, but everybody should own a piece of a business. You ain't got to necessarily make all your moves right now, but your goal should be eventually to own the real estate, to own the stocks. If you haven't bought stocks yet, download your Cash App, download your Acorn Stash or Robinhood, and go ahead and buy today. Make sure that you are making your moves. Whatever it is, just be making moves. Don't be sitting still, because you're too Black to sit still, which means you're too great and too extraordinary. And also, you got too many threats out here for you to be sitting still and going back with all this other stuff. So thanks a lot again, Julian, man. It was real, brother. And thank you to everybody listening. We will see you guys soon. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Peace.